Okay, so in this tutorial, I want to talk about both the layers and the tools panel. So as we said in the first tutorial, the layers panel is on the right side here. The tools panel is going to be on your left side here. Okay, so let's say I'm making a meme and I want to embed an image so that I can begin to work with it. Now, I like to work with one image at a time. I am dyslexic, so uh, one at a time usually works the best. And really for photo composition, this really is going to be the easiest method to use. Once you learn this, you can pretty much composite anything. We're not going to go over the brushes, mainly because we're not really doing painterly type things in this class, but rather compositing. So first things first, you're not going to be able to see it on my top panel, but it's the Apple, Photoshop, and then we're going to go to File. When you open File, you are going to place an embedded image. Now I already have these on my desktop, so I am going to place embedded, and I want to embed this beautiful image of Ye, Kanye West. All right, so we're going to place that on there. Now, see to the right on our layers panel, we now have Kanye. I'm going to hit enter and let them sit there. And I'm going to rename this layer by double clicking on it, and I'm going to call it Kanye. Again, this is really going to help you keep track of what you're doing, where you are, what your layers are, especially if you start to get multiple layers. Photoshop is one of those things where the more layers, the more better. So there's our Kanye layer. Now, what we're going to want to do is say I want to isolate Kanye from this background. Firstly, we are going to come over to our tools panel, and you are going to select the quick selection tool. The shortcut for that's going to be W, and it may not be on the quick selection tool already, so you may need to toggle out the menu to make sure it's on the quick selection tool. There are other tools you can use, but again, this is going to be the easiest and fastest way. And Photoshop in the last year and a half, 2 years has made this super easy. So once your quick selection tool is selected, you are going to toggle up to the top. You see here you have the little house. You can make your brush bigger or smaller. You can make your brush have different edges, whatnot. We're just going to leave it where it's at. We're going to toggle all the way over to select subject, and that's going to do most of the work for us. Now, see how it's selected a little more than we want? We want to get rid of some of that. So what we're going to do is deselect those pixels. On a Mac, you're going to do this by pressing Option. It should be pretty similar on a PC, but you can always come up here and just manually deselect those pixels by subtract selection. So we are going to subtract that. You can make your brush also bigger or smaller. Next to the P, there are two brackets. The left side will make it smaller. The right bracket will make it larger. Okay, so I'm going to make that a little smaller because I don't want to select too many pixels. And I'm going to deselect this because we don't want that in our image. And I'm going to reselect this edge. So again, you might need to play around with it a little bit. If you want to see what you're selecting, you can also Command or Control on a PC, Command plus, and that'll give you a little bit more control. You can zoom in or zoom out, so it'll be Command plus or Command negative. On a PC, I believe it's Control. So I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. I'm going to select his ear. And now I'm going to zoom. Looks pretty all right. This is a demo, so it won't be perfect. But now I am going to zoom out because I am ready to select and mask. So, select and mask. You can smooth, feather, contrast, or shift the edge. I'm just going to smooth it out a bit. And once I have that selected, I'm going to come down here to this Add Layer Mask. And now we have just the Kanye image that we have selected because that's all we want. I want to get rid of that background. Now, we say we need to manipulate this image. We're going to want to transform it. The shortcut for that is going to be Command or Control T. If you do not know, you can always come over into the search bar and, well, let's hit enter there. You can always come over to the search bar and hit transform. And you'll see that it's going to show you where it's at, which is an edit free transform. So I'm just going to show you that again. You can't see the edit here, but we are going to go edit free transform. Again, you can find it a myriad of ways, but the shortcut is going to be Command T. So let's say I want to make it bigger. Now I'm going to scale it up. I'm not going to hold anything. It's just going to scale up. So I'm going to kind of set him down here, and I am going to hit enter to place him. Now, if you want, say you want to clean up those edges just a little bit, you can always toggle down to the eraser tool right here, eraser, and you can make that bigger again by toggling the brackets right or left, and then Command plus to come in and really have some more control over that. And oops, you know what? That's going to be a little harder. Don't listen to me. You can't erase that because it'll actually just erase to the background. So another thing you could do is say you want to match it to the background. So I'm actually going to use the eyedropper tool here. I'm going to select this white color, and now I'm actually going to use a paintbrush. And I am going to just kind of paint over that layer a little bit, and you can kind of, it'll give you some control. So again, there's like a million different ways to do the same thing in Photoshop. Here, again, we're using the eyedropper tool to sample the color, right? And then we are using the brush tool to clean up some of those edges and match it with the white background. You can have some control over the brush here. You can play around with the different brushes and different effects. I'm not going to go too far into that, but that'll give you some more control over that. Okay, so I am now going to zoom back out. And I want to embed another image because here I am making a meme. So, File, we are going to place embedded. I have recently downloaded this, so I'm just going to my recents. I am opening this banana, and now we have a banana here. Okay, now I want to use Kanye, but right now I don't want to focus on him. So I'm going to come over to my layers panel, and I'm actually going to toggle this eyeball off so that I can just focus on the banana. Okay. The other thing I want to do right now is make sure that I am on the correct layer. And I am going to come up here to my move tool. See how it was, when it was on the paintbrush, it's doing this. We don't want that. We actually want to have control over it. So I'm coming up here to move tool, which is also a shortcut V. And then I'm going to click on it. So I'm actually going to transform it again, Command T. I want to make it just a little bit bigger to work with. And it's already a PNG file, right? Which means we don't really have to clean up the background very much. But say I want to rotate it. I'm going to go this way. Okay, sure, that's fine for now. I'm going to toggle Kanye back on. Oh, see, just kidding. It's not just a white background, but rather we have the white background in it, and we don't want that. So let's toggle Kanye off again. Let's go to our banana. Sorry about that, guys. One moment. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to come back over to our quick selection tool. We're going to select subject, right? This one should be really easy. It's already got the banana. We're going to select in mask. Say you want to just smooth out those edges a little bit. I'm going to hit OK, and now I'm going to come back down here and I am going to mask it. So now when we toggle Kanye back on, we just have the banana. I'm going to maybe make it a little bit smaller, say you want to adjust it, maybe we want to make it look like he's making a phone call, so you can kind of just play around with those settings. This is again in free transform, Command T, and we can kind of have a little bit more control over that. Okay, so this is a little variation of a meme I did, but we're kind of messing around with this semester, so I'm just going to hit enter. We'll just say, let's just pretend this is all we want. I'm going to come back over to my tools section. I'm going to toggle down to text, and I'm going to select the horizontal type tool. When I do that, I'm going to automatically create a new layer once I do this. It's going to be layer 1. It's going to do the lorem ipsum thing. And we're just going to say, let's just pretend, this isn't going to be funny, but let's just say, make that a little bigger just in case. Let's say we want to go bigger. So I'm going to select that entire type. Let's say I just want to make it a little bigger. I'm going to come up to 38 point. Maybe I'll just make it a 48 point. Let's say we want it to take up the whole thing. And I'm going to come over to the move tool, and I'm, going to move it around. Now, we'll talk about typeface later when we get to rasters, but you can double click on it. You can always come up here. I have it on Helvetica. You can come up here and change it to any typeface you want. And we'll just stick with Helvetica for now. And the layer already named itself. So we're going to hit let's just say this is what we want. And really, this is kind of the introduction to tools, layers, quick selection. So let's just go over it one more time. On the right-hand side, you have your layers. So let's just say I have this layer selected, but it accidentally kicks down. Let's see if it'll go down that far. Down below Kanye. When I bring it down over here, it's behind him, right? So if the layer is actually behind him, it's going to show up behind him. If you don't want that, again, you can just drag and drop your layers to where you want them. You might have to take a second to do so. But now, again, see, this is how you have control over your layers and moving your images. Again, we can toggle on and off depending on what we want to work with. And then we have our tools over here. So the ones you're really going to use the most for this first unit and module is most likely going to be the move tool, quick selection tool. You're also probably going to be, it's possible you could be using a brush tool or an eraser tool, as well as the eyedropper tool. Feel free to experiment and pull some of these out. So if it has a little triangle in the corner, that means you can toggle it out, and there's multiple uses for that tool, which is pretty neat. And again, once you're say making your selection and you want to isolate it from the background and mask it, you're going to come down here by the layers panel and add layer mask. So hopefully that is relatively clear. Please let me know if you have any questions about anything at all. I am here to help you, and I will talk to you soon about our next tutorial.